Thank you so much for joining us. You're watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Angela Brown in for Jan Jeffcoat. It's Monday, February 16th, President's Day. And right now, there is no clear path to ending this partial government shutdown, the third one we've had in under 6 months. Let's get right over to Mark Boyle at the Live Desk. Congress not expected to be back in session until next week, but in the meantime, a lot of agencies are taking ahead.
Yeah, let's go through that right now. The main agencies being impacted, Angela, include TSA at the airports, FEMA, the U.S. Coast Guard, Secret Service even. And the work being done by ICE and CBP will go on mostly unaffected because the Trump administration set enough funding aside for those agencies from last year's One Big Beautiful Bill.
ICE has continued to enforce law across the country. They're already funded. Now, the ICE officers won't be getting paid, but they're getting used to that, it seems like. So, no, the immigration mission, the reason why President Trump was elected to be president, continues.
Now, the DHS employees who aren't being paid are still being required to show up for work because their job is deemed essential. Still, there seems no compromise between the White House and lawmakers is close at all. It threatens to drag this whole thing out much longer than expected or anticipated. Democrats in the Senate have held up DHS funding as they demand policy changes for how ICE agents conduct themselves. Some of those included no roving patrols, ICE agents blocked from entering churches, schools, or polling places, and no more masked agents. Now, following the death of Alex Preddy back in January, DHS did make some changes. They're now having their officers wear those body cameras on their chests while they're out doing operations and enforcement. Some GOP lawmakers have spoken out against ICE officers not wearing masks. They say they're just at higher risk of being doxxed or harassed in the public. So we'll keep a close tab and watch on this story as new developments come in this morning, Angela.
And while 97% of the government has been funded already, the shutdown could impact you at home, like at the airport, for example. House Speaker Mike Johnson posted on X, quote, "Here we go again. The new Democrat shutdown, this time of the Department of Homeland Security, will hit some very important programs like FEMA disaster relief, response, TSA security lines, and Coast Guard operations. That means delayed disaster aid, airport chaos, weakened law enforcement. Democrats are once again risking public safety just to stage a pointless political stunt." And let's now talk about this partial government shutdown remains in effect this morning after Democrats refused to advance a funding deal for the Department of Homeland Security. The shutdown impacts funding for a whole bunch of agencies, or you can see it right here. You have TSA, FEMA, Secret Service, the Coast Guard, but not for ICE or Custom and Border Protection.
This is how we keep Americans safe. We keep them safe through FEMA. We keep them safe through TSA. We keep them safe through the Coast Guard. We keep them safe through Secret Service and so many other things that are funded through this department. Look, they have created this environment by their rhetoric and their failed policies. What they're really holding out for is hoping that we'll cement the failed Biden border policies of the past, and it's not going to happen.
Well, the National News Desk, Ultra Elnashar breaks down the stalemate and where funding talks stand right now. Good morning, Ultra.
Hey, Angela. Democrats here on Capitol Hill insist that DHS appropriations must include changes to ICE after high-profile confrontations on the streets of American cities, like the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Now, the changes Democrats want include ICE officers being required to obtain a judicial warrant, a warrant from a judge, in order to search private property, and to stop wearing face masks that obscure their identity. White House border czar Tom Homan calling these asks unreasonable.
We have a rogue agency. Why don't we rein them in? That's what the American people are asking Republicans.
If this was really a serious conversation, they wouldn't be holding the TSA workers or FEMA or the Coast Guard hostage over something that cannot be done by the ridiculous shutdown of DHS.
Now, the partial shutdown is expected to last at least another week, as the House and Senate aren't scheduled to return here to Capitol Hill until February 23rd. And the 24th is President Trump's State of the Union address, which could be overshadowed by this funding fight over his signature issue. I'm Atra Al-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Money to fund the Department of Homeland Security has halted. Democrats are pushing for reforms and more oversight of the agency's immigration and customs enforcement before signing off on more funding.
We have a rogue agency. Why don't we rein them in?
The demand for change comes after federal immigration agents fatally shot 2 U.S. citizens last month. Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good were killed by DHS agents during protests in Minneapolis. Their deaths sparked nationwide outrage over ICE's handling of protests. As a result, Democrats say they want to see a slew of policy changes, including tougher new use of force guidelines. But the Trump administration says those policies are already in place.
Border Patrol and ICE both have use of force guidelines. They both have operational instructions on, use the minimum force necessary.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats also seek no roving patrols. ICE agents blocked from entering churches, schools, or polling places, coordination with local agencies, and no more masks. In response to the January killings, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced earlier this month that all DHS agents in Minneapolis would wear body cameras, with the program gradually expanding nationwide. But she did not change the mask policy.
What are you going to do, expose their faces so you can intimidate their families?
A recent poll asked independent voters their thoughts on ICE's enforcement of immigration laws. 71% thought they'd gone too far. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Desde el fin de semana, el Departamento de Seguridad Nacional se quedó sin fondos para operar, y esto porque se venció el plazo de las 2 semanas de negociaciones entre demócratas, republicanos y la Casa Blanca para darle más fondos a esa agencia hasta finales de septiembre, cuando termina el año fiscal 2026, y en parte porque lo que los demócratas estaban tratando de conseguir con esta negociación no se logró. Entonces simplemente no se permitió entregarle más fondos al Departamento de Seguridad Nacional. Todo alrededor del comportamiento de los agentes federales de la patrulla fronteriza y de ICE específicamente después de lo que ha ocurrido en Minnesota y en otros estados de los Estados Unidos. Pero esto significa que otras agencias que hacen parte del Departamento de Seguridad Nacional sí se van a ver afectadas también, no solamente ICE y la patrulla fronteriza. Estamos hablando de la Agencia Federal de Emergencias, de los agentes que trabajan en los aeropuertos de la TSA, otros agentes como el Servicio Secreto, los guardacostas, también la Oficina de Seguridad Cibernética del Departamento de Seguridad Nacional, en fin, una serie de agencias que no tienen dinero ahora para funcionar, y sus empleados sí deben seguir trabajando porque la mayoría de ellos son considerados empleados esenciales. Una vez esto se solucione, pues estos empleados van a recibir sus salarios otra vez. Pero lo que sí queda también es la urgencia de la negociación. Los demócratas dicen que hay suficiente dinero para que puedan seguir operando. Los republicanos dicen que precisamente eso, que ICE y la patrulla fronteriza recibieron mucho dinero el año pasado en otro paquete legislativo que fue aprobado por los republicanos. Entonces, esto es un ejercicio inútil porque lo que está haciendo es afectando negativamente a otras agencias y no necesariamente a ICE y a la patrulla fronteriza. Por eso, el SAR de la frontera dice que los operativos de inmigración, de deportaciones, etcétera, van a seguir porque ICE tiene suficiente dinero. Entonces no está claro qué va a pasar de aquí en adelante. Por ahora no hay negociaciones porque demócratas y republicanos de Cámara y Senado se fueron por un receso de 1 semana y tampoco hay interés de avanzar rápidamente, por lo que estas negociaciones seguirán, y también la paralización de una agencia muy importante en los Estados Unidos también se mantendrá por unos días. Yona Molinares, Washington.
Border Czar Tom Homan said frozen funding for the Department of Homeland Security won't impact the Trump administration's immigration enforcement operations.
The immigration mission, the reason why President Trump was elected to be president, continues.
Senate Democrats withheld support of a funding package in the wake of the shooting deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis last month.
We have a rogue agency. Why don't we rein them in? That's what the American people are asking Republicans.
Democrats want reforms, including tighter parameters around search and arrest warrants and requiring immigration and customs enforcement agents to wear body cameras and remove masks.
They are smashing in windows, dragging people out of cars, breaking into people's homes without warrants. We need protection against that.
Republicans note ICE is already funded via last summer's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, and other DHS agencies will feel the shutdown's brunt.
This whole thing about shutting down DHS to prove a point, I think it's political theater, to be honest with you.
Meanwhile, Homan said he's boosted internal affairs personnel in Minnesota to investigate misconduct allegations among immigration enforcement officers.
I said I was bringing in more internal affairs officers to review the allegations, and those allegations are now being investigated.
Most DHS personnel are considered essential, meaning they're on the job but without pay until a funding agreement is reached. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.